the influx of illegal immigrants from more than 150 countries. How many illegal immigrants would you estimate your administration has released into the country over the last 3.5 years?
Well, I'm glad you raised the issue of immigration because I agree with you. It is a topic of discussion that people want to rightly have. And you know what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, but do you, just a number, do you think it's 1 million, 3 million?
Brett, let's just get to the point. Okay, the
point is, she won't answer the question. She was asked a specific question. She will not answer how many immigrants have illegally entered the country. Just listen.
we have a broken immigration system that needs to be repaired.
So your Homeland Security Secretary said that 85% of apprehensions.
I'm not finished.
I'm not finished. We have a broken immigration system, and the reason why is when they took over, Biden and Harris, when they took over, they rescinded all the executive orders of President Trump about closing the border, and they opened the border, and this is why we have the problem. She doesn't say that. Continue.
Man, it was called the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021.
Exactly.
It was essentially a pathway to citizenship for the...
Yes, ma'am. May I finish responding, please?
But
you have to let me finish,
you
please.
had the White House and the House and the Senate, and they didn't bring up that bill.
You're not answering the question.
And I'd like to finish.
Yes, ma'am.
You're not answering the question.
We recognized from day one that to the point of this being your first question, it is a priority for us as a nation and for the American people.
The first question was, how many people have you entered the country? What was the number? She won't give a number, and she's trying to talk about something else.
On fixing a problem. And
that you caused.
We have done a number
fixing
of things,
a problem that they caused.
To address our asylum system and put more resources, getting more judges. What we needed to do.
You don't need more judges.
And increase penalties.
You need a wall.
Illegal crossings. What we needed to do to deal with points of entry between border.
You didn't have that problem with Trump.
That's the work we did, and we worked.
You didn't have that problem with President Trump. He closed the border. They opened the border. They caused the problem. Now they want to try to fix the problem that they caused.
It was a bipartisan effort, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, to actually strengthen the border. That border bill would have put 1,500
6 Democrats voted against it, by the way.
I believe the Border Patrol agents supported the bill. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States, which is a scourge affecting people of every background, every geographic location in our country.
Bullshit. Answer the question.
It would have allowed us to put more resources into prosecuting transnational criminal organizations.
Answer the question.
Yes, ma'am.
As the Attorney General, former Attorney
You
General
did
of a
shit.
state,
Madam Vice President, a couple of things.
prosecuted trafficking of drugs, guns, and human beings. And Donald Trump, but let me just finish.
6 Democrats voted against that bill.
That's right.
About that bill and told them to kill it because he
6 Democrats voted against that bill.
And in this election, this is rightly a discussion that the American people want to have, and what they want are solutions.
Look what she did. She was asked a specific question: how many millions of people have crossed the border? She refuses to answer, and she's going on old talking points, bringing up old bullshit, trying to say that President Trump killed the immigration bill. 6 Democrats voted against it. You liar.
The United States was not playing political games with the issue,
I hear you.
but actually is focused on fixing
6
it.
Democrats voted against that.
There you
bill.
go.
It would have allowed 1.8 million illegal
There you go. There they are.
the country a year. A lot of conservatives had a problem.
An idiot. Sanders voted against it. Booker voted against it.
Back to the original premise. Jocelyn Mungary, Rachel Morin, Laken Riley. They are young women.
They were murdered.
Who were brutally assaulted and killed by some of the men who were released at the beginning of the administration, well before a negotiated bipartisan bill. Former President Clinton actually referred to Laken Riley Sunday campaigning for you in Georgia, saying if those men had been properly vetted,
Right.
Laken Riley probably would not have been killed.
Exactly.
So if it wouldn't have happened, this is well before any negotiation. This is well before Donald Trump got involved in the politics. This is a specific policy decision by your administration.
That's right.
To release these men into the country.
That's
so
right.
I'm saying to you, do you owe those families an apology?
Let me just say, first of all, those are tragic cases. There's no question about that. There is no question about that. And I can't imagine the pain that the families of those victims have experienced.
Because of you.
For a loss that should not have occurred.
Right, because of you.
So
yeah, it should not occur.
That is true. It is also true that if a border security had actually been passed 9 months ago, it would be 9 months that we would have had more.
And 6 Democrats voted against it. You don't want to mention that. Blaming President Trump. He isn't in the Senate. 6 Democrats voted against it, including Bernie Sanders, Booker, Christian Cinema out here in Arizona. They voted against it. Okay? And you're responsible, and Biden is responsible for those young kids and young lady that got murdered by these illegal immigrants that you allowed to cross the border because you rescinded President Trump's executive orders. Bottom line, you lying piece of garbage.
Security had actually been passed 9 months ago, it would be 9 months that we would have had more border agents at the border, more support.
She still hasn't answered the question.
Around the clock, trying to hold
the original
together
question she hasn't answered.
to ensure that no future harm would occur. And this election in 20 days
oh my God,
will determine whether we have a president of the United States who actually cares more about fixing
President
the problem,
Trump.
even if it is not
That's
to their
it, President
political
Trump.
advantage in an
That's
election,
right,
because
President
there
Trump.
was a solution, Brett.
He had a
Madam Vice
solution.
President, it was a policy decision in the early part of your
That's right.
administration. I will let one of the mothers talk about it. Take a listen.
Listen to this.
Because of the Biden-Harris administration open border policies catch and release, they were enrolled in the Alternatives to Detention program. This meant that they were released into the United States. It was not even a full 3 weeks later that they would take my daughter, Jocelyn Nungare's life.
My heart breaks for her.
Open border policies are responsible for the death of my daughter.
That's the early days. So do you owe them an apology is what I'm
I will
saying.
tell you that I am so sorry for her loss. I am so sorry for her loss. Sincerely.
That's not an apology for your actions that caused that problem. To you Democrats out there, how would you feel if it was your daughter that got murdered by an illegal immigrant that entered this country because of Biden and Harris rescinded President Trump's executive orders that stopped the immigration flow? You see the numbers, man? Look at the numbers. It was stopped. When they came into office, that's when they started coming again. She will not answer how many illegal immigrants have entered the country since Biden and Harris took over. She will not answer the question because it doesn't look good on her record.
Are responsible for the death of my daughter.
That's the early days. So do you owe them an apology is what
I
I'm
will
saying.
tell you that I am so sorry for her loss. I am so sorry for her loss. Sincerely.
Yeah, okay.
But let's talk about what is happening right now with an individual who does not want to participate in solutions. Let's
That's you.
talk about that.
That's
as well.
you.
But do you want to
Right.
answer
In all
her?
fairness, I told you I feel awful for what she and her family have experienced.
You didn't
During that
apologize
time,
to
you
her.
said repeatedly that the border was secure.
That's
when
right.
in your mind did it start becoming a crisis?
That's right.
I think we've had a broken immigration system transcending, by the way, Donald Trump's administration even before.
And Donald Trump stopped
let's
the
all be
immigration
honest about
flow.
that.
Let's be
I have
honest
no
about
pride
that. You say
in
that
saying
again.
that
You
this
have
is
no
a perfect
pride.
immigration system. I
You
think
say
I
it.
think
You
we
got
all
no
are.
pride.
That it needs to be fixed. We need more. I was just down at the border talking with
For the
border
first
agents,
time in 4
and they
years.
will tell you, and I'm sure you probably, I know you.
You did it for a
investigated,
photo
you are
op.
A serious journalist. They will tell you we need more judges. We need to process.
my
We
God.
need to process those cases.
You know what they tell
faster.
you?
We need
They
the
tell you that they
support
don't
for those
support
cases
you.
that should be
The Border
prosecuted.
Patrol supports
They
Donald
need
Trump.
more resources,
How
and
come?
Congress ultimately is the only place that's going to get fixed.
No, you
Brett.
could do executive
That's how the
orders, you
system
liar.
works.
That's the premise of this question.
Liar.
There were
That's how the
90
system
plus
works.
executive orders that were rescinded in the first days.
There you go.
Many of those were Trump border policies. I'm not going to stay here because there's other things to talk about, but you frequently talk to the Border Patrol Union for support of that bipartisan bill, and they did. They supported it. But they also just endorsed Donald Trump and said you've been, quote, a failure with border security.
Yeah,
Why do you
dog-face.
think they said that?
I think they're frustrated. And I get
Yeah,
it.
of course they're frustrated
They want
because you
support.
don't support them.
They want support,
And you
that's what
don't
that
support
border security
them.
bill would have done.
Bullshit.
These guys down at the border, these men and women, they're working hard. They're working around
Listen
the
to
clock.
this. Listen to
I
this
get
bullshit. You don't get it. You don't
There's
get
a lot of people that
nothing.
look back at what you said in 2019 when you first ran for president. And there have been changes, and you've talked about some of them. When it comes to immigration, you supported allowing immigrants in the country illegally to apply for driver's license,
Oh, my
to
God.
qualify for free tuition
Listen
at
to this.
universities, to be enrolled in free health care. Do you still support those
Of
things?
course not,
Listen,
because
that was 5
she's
years
running
ago,
for
And I'm
president.
very clear that I will follow the law. I have made that statement over and over again. And as Vice President of the United States, that's exactly what I've done.
Oh,
not
you'll
to
never
mention
be
before.
president. You'll never get near the
If
Oval
that's the
Office
case, you
as
chose a
president.
running mate, Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota, who signed those very things into state law.
There you go.
So do you support that?
We are very clear, and I am very clear, as
Yeah.
is Tim Walz,
Yeah, okay.
that we must support and enforce federal law. And
Yeah.
that is exactly what
And
we
you're
will
going to
do.
do anything to
So
be elected
decriminalizing
president, you
border
liar.
crossings, like you said in 2019.
I do not believe in decriminalizing
Uh-huh.
border crossings, and I've not done that as vice president. I will not do that as president.
So these are evolutions that you've had.
No, but let's be very clear.
Let's
I'm
be
the only
very
person
clear.
who's running for president who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations.
You
from the
let
Sinaloa
criminals
cartel
out
to the
when you were the
Guadalajara
prosecutor. You
cartel,
let them out of
to
jail
people
and
who
they
traffic
committed
in
murders,
guns,
you
drugs, and
lying
human beings. I have
bitch.
spent a
Lie,
significant part of my
lie,
career
Pinocchio,
going after
lie,
people who present
lie,
a threat to the safety of the American people
lie,
and cross
lie,
our border with the intent
lie,
of doing us harm and
lie.
cross our border
Pinocchio,
illegally, and I will do that work as
lie.
vice president. I take
Your
that
nose
work
is getting
quite
better.
seriously.
Yeah, okay.
This is a time when voters, especially here in Pennsylvania, are inundated with commercials and ads. They just want it to stop because it's every commercial. But many of them add noise, but a few of them seem to break through. This particular one in the Trump campaign has gotten a lot of attention.
Oh, that's a good one.
Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners.
Surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners,
prisoners.
every transgender inmate in the
God.
prison system would have access.
So are you still in support of using taxpayer dollars to
course
help prison
not.
inmates or detained illegal aliens to transition to another gender?
I will follow the law, and it's a law that Donald Trump actually followed. You're probably familiar with, now it's a public report, that under Donald Trump's administration, these surgeries were available on a medical necessity basis to people in the federal prison system. And I
Necessity.
think, frankly, that ad from the Trump campaign is a little bit of like throwing, stones when you're living in a glass house.
The Trump aides say that he never advocated for that prison policy and no gender transition
Well,
surgeries
you gotta
happened
take
during
responsible for what
his
happened during your
presidency.
administration.
Yeah, no surgeries happened in his
It's
presidency.
in
So
black and white.
would you still advocate for using taxpayer dollars for gender reassignment
I will
surgeries?
follow the law.
He will
just as
follow. She won't
I
answer
think
the
Sean Trump would
question.
say he did.
You would have a say as president.
Like I said, I think it's really, he spent $20 million on those ads, trying to create a sense of fear in the voters because
Look
he
who's
actually has
talking
no
about
plan
creating fear.
in this election that is about focusing on the needs of the American people. Whereas
Is she a dummy or what?
$20 million in that ad on an issue that, as it relates to the biggest issues that affect the American people, it's really quite remote. And again,
Really?
his policy was no
Spending
different.
money on
Look
sex
at where
changes
we
for
are.
president, that
There's
doesn't,
Plans for the American
that
people.
isn't
I'm
important.
offering a plan to deal with
Using
affordable
taxpayer
housing.
money to
I'm
do that,
offering a
that's
plan
not
to
important.
deal with what we need to do to
You
strengthen
got
small businesses,
no
which are the backbone
plan.
of America's America's economy.
You got
I'm
no
offering
plan.
a plan that is about taking care of young
What are they?
parents and giving them the support they need.
What's the
My
plan?
plans for the economy will strengthen the economy, as have been reviewed by 16 Nobel laureates,
Bullshit.
Goldman Sachs,
Yeah.
Moody's, and recently the Wall Street
Yeah,
Journal, which
okay.
have all studied our plans and have indicated my plans for our economy would strengthen our economy.
Wow.
His would make them weaker,
Yeah.
would ignite
People say-
inflation, and invite a recession by the middle of next year.
Get
Those are
out
the
of
facts.
here.
Why do you think more people say they trust him on the economy than they trust you?
I
Yeah.
think that when you look at an analysis of our plans for what we would do as president of
Don't
the United
answer the
States,
question.
it has been clear to those who study and understand how economic policy works that moving forward